Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final day of the conference. I'm Arthur Edge, Director of the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group, and we have an exciting program and panel for you featuring a Zipline, and they're going to talk a little bit about the work they're doing. And it's in the healthcare space, but a unique approach that we don't often talk about, the application of drones in healthcare. And I'll speak on that in just a moment, but wanted to cover a few housekeeping items as individuals join. Next slide, please. So we want to hear from you, and we would love to know what questions you have about this topic. So feel free to use the chat option in Zoom. There's a chat feature. I know you've been in Zooms all throughout the conference, so you're likely familiar with it, but please do use the everyone option as opposed to the private chat feature. Even if you're having technical challenges, that'll help us respond to you quickly so that the messages don't get lost. Also, please, everyone, this should already be the case, but please place yourself on mute and have your videos off. We want to allow the speakers to be seen and heard clearly. Again, just want to reiterate, we want to hear your questions. We do have time at the end for formal Q&A, but if you do have a question and don't want to lose it, you can place it in the chat at any time and just use the Q&A label in front of your message. Awesome, thank you. Next slide. Wanted to give you all a little bit of background about the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group. We are one of 11 SIGs in NSBE serving all of the membership demographics, and we're excited to host this session. And we're collaborating, as always, with other SIGs, specifically the Aerospace SIG and the Transportation SIG for this session. But specifically in healthcare, we focus on delivering programs through what we call our care strategy. At a high level, we're looking to connect you with subject matter experts in the industry for mentorship, professional development, and career opportunities. And there's, of course, a research arm developing technology, and then an outreach arm looking at educating and exposing the community to healthcare disparities and innovations. There's a team that supports leading High SIG. Next slide, please. I, of course, have the pleasure of serving as the director, but I'm really supported by an awesome team. Hopefully you've got to meet many of them throughout the conference, but we would love to engage with you further, and you'll hear from us about subsequent programming that you can engage in. This is a snapshot of the board, and on the next slide, you'll see a few more members. Great, just wanted to give you a minute to see what the team looks like. Let's jump forward to the presentation. There are two speakers that you'll have the opportunity to hear from, and I know they'll tag team over the next several slides, and there's some interactive content as well. There's Sarah, who's a lead software engineer in their fulfillment platform area at Zipline. She'll, of course, explain a bit more about what that means. And she's based in the US, in the Bay Area. And we have Yvonne, who's based in Ghana as a flight operations lead at one of their distribution centers. And just high level about Zipline, they're truly, truly mission driven, focused on providing every human on Earth with instant access to vital medical supplies. I won't steal their thunder, but you'll get to hear more about that right now. And I will let you drive moving forward, Sarah and Yvonne.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Arthur. So, as you stated, Zipline's mission is to provide every human on Earth with instant access to vital medical supplies. And the way that we do that is by operating a drone delivery network. You can see one of our drones on the slide here. To date, we've made over 53,000 commercial deliveries. We design, test, manufacture, and operate our entire network. And our operations are from distribution centers that are placed at the center of each region of service. So we have part medical warehouse that provides our fulfillment operations, and part drone airport, which provides our flight operations. Each distribution center can make hundreds of deliveries per day to any point within about an 8,750 square mile radius. So I'm going to give a quick introduction on how our service works. So we receive inventory from our clients to be held at our distribution centers. And we receive orders from hospitals within the service radius from phone, text, or web form. And these orders can be scheduled in advance, or they can be placed on demand for just-in-time delivery. These are usually for emergency situations. A Zipline fulfillment operator, or pharmacist, begins preparing the product for delivery. And our packaging is made so that we can maintain cold chain for blood products and can protect them during delivery. So here's a quick video of William, one of our fulfillment operators from Rwanda, getting a package ready for delivery. So once it's prepped, that package will then be sent over to the flight operations team, who will put it into a drone and prepare it for takeoff. So you've seen here, there's a parachute on the package. And from the first slide, you saw that our drones are fixed wing, not the traditional quadcopter style that you might first think of when you think of a drone. So this lets us fly a lot faster and farther, but that also means that our operations might not be what you expect. So our launcher, for example, if you imagine an airplane taking off, it has to go down the runway to build up speed. Our drones don't have wheels on the bottom, and we don't have runway space, so we do the next best thing, which is we just launch it straight into the air. So we use a pulley and an electric motor, and this gets our drone up to their cruising speed of 100 kilometers per hour in about 0.3 seconds. From there, it flies autonomously to the hospital. You see that this launch and recovery infrastructure, this would be expensive to set up per hospital. So our drones deliver by just dropping the packages. That way, hospitals don't have to have any added infrastructure or do anything really to sign up for our service, except for have space available for us to drop. During recovery, you see we don't have wheels to take off, we don't have wheels to land either. So we recover our drones by pretty much just snatching them out of the air. It's kind of hard to see here, but our drones have a tiny little metal hook at the end of the tail. And then there's a wire that's on that recovery mechanism that catches between that hook and the drone to snatch the drone out of the air. From there, flight operators can pick it up and get it ready for another flight. Handing off to Yvonne now to talk about our customers and who we serve.
Yeah, so Zipline, as Sarah mentioned, is currently working in Ghana, in Rwanda, and in the US, and in the various distribution centers in which we operate, we serve a variety of people. Some of the products we deliver to the health facilities include anti-snake serum, anti-rabies, about 150 different medical products, componentized blood, and we serve hospitals, health centers, very small buildings that could have one nurse or one midwife in. So it's not just one type of medical or health facility that we are serving, but we serve a wide range of health facilities that include hospitals, health centers, and other smaller clinics. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the picture you are seeing is the various distribution centers that we operate in. So in Rwanda, we cover almost the whole country. In Ghana, we serve 12 million people out of the 25 million Ghanaians. And then in US, we are currently operating in North Carolina. Yeah, so we deliver different componentized blood. We do vaccine delivery. We do medical products delivery. And during this COVID-19 pandemic, we've also been delivering PPEs and test samples, COVID-19 test samples to testing labs across Ghana. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we've done more than 50,000 deliveries across Zipline, and 1 out of every 3 deliveries that we make are critical deliveries. Our deliveries are very reliable in the sense that more than 99% of products that we send to hospitals, to health facilities, have no damage. They receive no damage after they are dropped using the parachute. In Zipline, safety is our utmost priority, and this is reflected when we are designing our aircraft, because in the years that we've operated, there have been no injuries to persons or to anybody as a result of our operations. Also, through our service, we have helped reduce blood wastage in countries and in regions that we operate in. Next slide, please. So I mentioned earlier about our COVID-19 support. Starting April, Zipline has been delivering COVID-19 test samples from different parts of Ghana to our 2 testing labs, which are in Accra and Kumasi, which are the 2 biggest cities in Ghana. And in terms of logistics, the deliveries that we've made, the COVID-19 sample deliveries that we've made has helped reduce the time that it takes for people to get their results and thereby help manage the pandemic. Also, we are in partnership with Novant Health, which is a healthcare, a non-profit healthcare system in the US, in North Carolina to be specific. And we are helping them to deliver PPEs, which are nose mask, gloves, and then other sanitizers to the personnel who work in these centers. Next slide, please. Because our drones fly long distances beyond visual line of sight, we have a platform that we use to monitor all our aircraft that leave our centers. We also communicate with air traffic control towers to ensure that anytime there is a drone in the airspace is clear for the drone to go and come back safely. So pictured are some of our air traffic controllers and an image of our user interface that we use to monitor the drones that are in the air. Yeah.
Sarah, you are on mute if you started to drive again.
Thank you, Arthur. Thanks, Yvonne, for the overview of our customers and of our flight tracking technology. I want to deep dive now into our medical warehouse technology, which has just for us been a journey in continuous improvement as we continue to try to serve the customer to the best of our ability. So first, I want to take us way back to the beginning of Zipline's operations in Rwanda. For the longest time, we've been focused on our drone technology, making sure it can meet the reliability and safety standards that we set in place and basically do what we were promising it to be able to do. For that reason, our operations in the warehouse started very scrappily with a small team just doing their best to put everything together, basically. So we were only delivering blood to a small number of facilities in Rwanda, and we didn't have any software yet, but we needed to take orders and serve our customers. So we were thinking of how we could do that quickly without spending all this time investing in software resources to get off the ground. So let me introduce you to Zipline's favorite tool for quick prototyping, which is Google Sheets. So we had our operations tracking, our order taking, our inventory, all in Google Sheets as we learned how it looked to operate a drone delivery service. And at the volume that we were starting in, this was a totally tenable solution, and it was very flexible. Our operations team could add whatever data they wanted. If they needed a new sheet because it turns out we needed to track this other thing, they could do that very easily. So this let us start very flexibly and very quickly. Once we knew what we wanted, then an engineer went to Rwanda, worked with the operations team, walked through what they were doing, and using their knowledge and their spreadsheets, created the first warehouse software, which is what we call the fulfillment system in-house. And this is kind of our general pattern for how we do things. The operations team, being closest to the customer, knows what needs to happen in order to serve that customer, and can just figure it out how to do it as quickly as possible. Once we know how it works, we work with operations to build software that makes those manual processes scale. So now I want to walk through, so this is, it's basically agile software development. And I just want to walk through some examples of how we do that. So simple example to start, order notifications. As we order things online, we're very used to getting notifications of, when our packages are confirmed, when they're shipped, when they're delivered. We do the same thing at Zipline. We tell them when their packages have launched and when it's expected to arrive. We let them know when it's 5 minutes away so that they can be prepared for the delivery, since they do have to pick it up from the drop point. And we let them know when it's been delivered. So when we're doing, less than 10 flights a day, it's very easy for operators to know exactly what drones are going where and keep track of their progress to send notifications. Now we're at, we've hit 100 flights a day per nest, and then this problem becomes way harder. So we worked with the operations team and worked with the flight code, which flight and fulfillment code hadn't very integrated very much before. So we built that integration to keep track of which drone is where and send the notifications automatically. So that's a pretty simple change, but it's something that we had to fix. Sorry, I've heard that my microphone is a little dim, so I'm going to try to speak louder. Okay, the next example is in our order taking process. So when we were just delivering blood, it was fairly simple to pack any given order because only a certain amount of blood will fit in a single package, as you saw from the video earlier. So when it comes to an order like this, if Yvonne and I were packing it, I'd say, okay, I'll take the 2 units of A positive, you take 1 unit of B positive, we'll pack our 2 packages and, we'll be on our way. Now we're delivering way more than blood, and we're delivering way more units per package, especially in Ghana. So these units have to be packed in many different ways, due to durability or temperature constraints. Some can be packed together and some can't. And it becomes more difficult to sort through how do we separate an order into different things. If I say, I'm going to pack 20X and 10Y, and Yvonne, can you take the 30X and another 10Y and 10Z? Then, we start packing, we're like, wait, what are you doing? What am I doing? It becomes a lot more difficult to organize. So this was something that, our operations team had been doing great on their own for a couple of years, but now that we're scaling, it suddenly becomes a huge problem. So working with the operations team and understanding this issue, we designed a new system that would automatically split orders into shipments now based on those constraints, and providing variables that the operations team can tune to make sure that these shipments are going to be split as close to how they would split them by hand if possible. And so in a system like this, now there are shipments to work in that I can change manually if they're not quite right. And then I'll say, I'm taking shipment 1, Yvonne, you take shipment 2, and it becomes a lot easier to keep track of what's going where and helps prevent errors. So tying this back into the agile software development lifecycle, this is basically how the fulfillment engineering team develops features that can best fit the customer's needs. So we meet and plan with the operations team, who tells us the issues. We have who we call product ops, that essentially their role on the fulfillment operations team is to understand these processes and work with us to help improve them. So we try to solve the customer's needs first through quick prototypes, through operations, through tools that we already have built, so that we can understand what the need exactly is. Once we reach a limitation there, or we learn exactly what we need to do, we figure out how to build it to scale. So that's when we enter the design phase. We come up with short-term, medium-term, and long-term designs, where the short-term is getting it to the customer faster, but placing more burden on operations. And the longer-term design is reliable, scalable, more efficient, capturing better data for us to track that's cleaner and less error-prone. Once we have that design test set, we start coding on the development team. So we have an automated test suite that we develop our solutions against. And then our product operations squad will then do a manual run through of a test branch that we have up on staging to provide feedback. For larger features and operations change, we might actually pilot this at a single nest that has a lower delivery volume, just to get a sense of how it's actually performing in operations and getting that feedback before we roll it out to the larger nest. So once we roll it out, it just becomes something that rolls into part of the cycle. We're immediately following up. How did this release go? Did we improve these processes the way that we wanted to? Did we introduce any new problems that we need to address? What are the customers saying? And depending on what this feedback is, we'll reevaluate our priorities to make sure we're best aligned with what the operations team feels like we need next. And then we just restart the cycle for the next feature on our roadmap. And so we've used this process to build really great internal software for our operations team to serve the customer. So our next challenges are building software to help our customers and clients better serve themselves. So for example, that's giving government clients a view into our data so that they can see exactly which hospitals we're serving under their purview, what supplies we're sending and when. Right now, they're getting our favorite, which is spreadsheets. Another is giving hospitals different ways to order from us and see what supplies we have available. Again, right now, we're sending them spreadsheets of our inventory and supplies so we can. And you know, especially in the US, having like an ordering app might seem like an immediate thing, but we're currently serving facilities and some don't have good enough internet to use an ordering app. So phone ordering is actually the best solution for them. And from our customer research, hospitals actually enjoy placing an order with a human being and knowing that it's being taken care of, especially in emergency situations. So sometimes it pays off to start with this crappy solution and get these learnings. Now that we're doing more scheduled non-emergency deliveries in areas with better internet, an ordering app is just the natural expansion to make sure that we're freeing up our operators' time to take those really important calls from facilities that wouldn't be able to order otherwise. So agile software development is how we make sure we're meeting the needs of our customer in fulfillment. And it's easy for us to do many iterations because for us, there's a low cost of deploying new things. But customer obsession in hardware looks different, and Yvonne is going to take us down that journey. You're on mute, Yvonne.
Yeah. So as mentioned by Sarah, our flight operations is basically in three main stages where we receive the package from the fulfillment warehouse and we put the package in the belly of the drone. We do pre-flight checks and then we launch it. The drone follows a pre-programmed path to the hospital where it opens its belly and drops the package. And then without stopping, it returns to distribution center where we use what you see in the third picture called the recovery system to recover it. Next slide, please. Yeah. Yeah. The customer voice is a very important part of the design of the aircraft, all the way to the way we deliver our packages to the customer. And in order to be able to serve the customer excellently, we've had interesting challenges and opportunities that we've encountered. And one of them is cellular service. So far, Zipline is working in Ghana, in Rwanda, and in the US. And some of these places, it's not always that they have good cellular service, but the aircraft needs cell service to be able to accurately deliver when it gets to the health facilities. And what happens is if there is no cell service, the drone will be able to go to the health facility, but it might not be able to deliver the package to the customer. And so we've had to think about what you can do to be able to ensure that the customer is always served at any point in time. And so in places where there is poor service, we rely on another way of satellite communication so that we are assured that every time, no matter the condition, we are able to deliver packages to the customer. Another opportunity that we consider is safety. Over time, we need to maintain the drones to always be able to serve the customer. And we make sure that our maintenance is as free from human errors as possible. Some things that we have had to do to make maintenance as error-free as possible is to color code part of our aircraft to make sure that when maintenance technicians are working on them, they know where to put each part. For Zipline, another interesting thing which is also a challenge that we've had to encounter or we've encountered is the weather, which is a common challenge in the aviation industry. For us, wind is the main challenge that we face, and as we go to more countries, there might be other challenges that we might face related to weather. When we talk about winds, it's not non-thunderstorm winds, it's terrain winds that blow down the drone from mountain ridges. And this is something that the drone can encounter whilst trying to deliver to the hospitals. These winds have led us to designing our aircraft to have wider wings so that they are able to fly in challenging weather. In Rwanda, especially where the terrain is very mountainous, and in parts of Ghana. It has been working very well so far. And one thing is microbursts, which are kind of harder to predict, but even with that, we are working on that, and we are hoping to be able to predict weather better. And we have a weather team that is working on making sure that our aircraft is robust enough to be able to fly in all conditions. Ice is also another challenge that has to do with weather that we might face as the plane expands. There are opportunities for improvement with regards to our ability to overcome all weather challenges as time goes on. Next slide, please. Yeah. When it comes to opportunities for improvement, we have mostly been following a layered approach to our challenges. And the first layer that we consider is avoidance. So for wind events, we factor this in when we are planning our delivery routes to the hospitals. In very mountainous terrains, we avoid flying over mountainous ridges where we can, so that our drones are energy efficient and can go far and are able to go and come back safely. We've also had to ground certain flights if we realize that there are high winds along the routes that we serve. We also make sure that the airspace that we fly at is free from manned aircraft. And to do that, we've developed a platform where air traffic controllers can monitor Zipline flights. And Zipline also has internal controllers which we use to monitor the flights and then the routes, and then make sure that there is no chance of manned aircraft coming close to any drone that is flying. Yeah. We also have redundant systems so our drones are able to fly during off-nominal situations. So if you go to the next two slides, please. Yeah, next one. Yeah. Our drones have redundant systems like the motors and then our GPS units and other physical components that have double instead of one, although the drone uses just one to be able to go and come back. We do this to be able to make sure that the drone can quickly make a switch from one working unit to the other in case there is an off-nominal event in the air. An example is with regards to our pitot tubes, which measure the airspeed of the drone. The drone needs one to be able to ensure that we are getting feed or information about the speed at which the drone is going and all that, but that it has to. And these redundant systems and engineering controls have been put in place to ensure that no matter the conditions or whatever be the case, the drone will be able to go and deliver packages to customers when they need them the most. Next slide, please. Yeah. The last layer, when it comes to challenges and opportunities that we face in our customer obsession, is with regards to our parachute landing system, which is a fail-safe system that we've put in place to ensure that the drone has a safe way of coming down if everything fails. So I mentioned earlier that we have redundant systems, and before a drone before a drone leaves our center, we have a way of making sure that the software, every part of it is in good order. But in flight, if if the redundant systems fail, we still have a fail-safe system that we use to be able to bring the drone down safely. And we've made the outermost part of the drone to be such that when the drone lands using its parachute, the outermost part of the drone will absorb the shock to protect the inner part of it. So what you can see in the picture is the parachute, the red parachute connected to the drone that is allowing it to be able to land safely in case of an emergency. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So Zipline is a growing company, and there are opportunities which are open for people to join our team. We have a very strong team, committed, who have people at heart, and they do all that they can to make sure that our drones are working and we are able to serve the people who need our service the most. And so Arthur has links to these open opportunities, and you are welcome to apply uh, to the company. Thank you.
No, that is awesome, awesome. Very interesting content and exciting and innovative. I did just drop a a link in the chat for folks who are interested in some of the career opportunities featured on the slide here, as well as some opportunities on the website where if this is of interest, please do apply and also let us know so that we can help fast track your review. There are a ton of questions that I've seen come in. So I do want to get to as many of them as possible. Maybe one of the first questions. So in terms of sample or patient data associated with a particular job, if you will, or delivery, what processes do you have in place to protect patient data? So maybe if you could talk about that or let us know how the deliveries are connected to specific patients versus maybe the healthcare providers who are receiving the medicines or supplies.
Sure, I can take this one. So today, I'll start with our general deliveries. So our general deliveries are actually made to specific health facilities and are not related to specific patients. So even if this blood is to be allocated for this patient who's undergoing surgery later in the afternoon, we actually don't know anything about that patient. We just know that the lab technician at this hospital has requested a blood order. So we do protect our data as best we can, but we don't actually contain any patient information in our system right now. COVID samples are interesting because they are, necessarily for a given individual. But again, Zipline doesn't actually contain that data since we're more of like a middleman delivery. So what happens is that the samples are encoded with an ID. So for example, in Ghana, the hospital would encode that ID and pass it on to the processing lab, but Zipline is not privy to that information. So all that we know about the sample is the ID that's passing through for our tracking purposes. But again, we can't link that to the patient or individual in any way. I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that patient safety is so important, but also the kind of policies and procedures, even at a country level, vary, right, from each geography. And so it may look different.
Definitely, as we explore more opportunities in the U.S., definitely our systems will have to become HIPAA compliant if we plan to deliver to individual patients.
So there's another question, kind of more forward-looking and strategic, in terms of business growth opportunity, as you're having internal conversations, kind of town halls. I'm sure that you talk about some of these things. Um, have has there been any forward-looking type statements around using the drones for patient home checks?
Yeah,
So
so just
maybe
home
add
delivery.
a little bit to it. I know, so maybe rephrasing a little, is there any thoughts about doing kind of a direct to patient versus direct to healthcare provider or hospital system?
Yeah, so that's definitely an area that we're looking to, especially in the US where general delivery infrastructure is better. So delivery to facilities has been, monumental in Rwanda and Ghana where their delivery infrastructure and roads aren't great. So drones make that more passable. That obviously isn't the same type of problem that we have in the US. So patient home delivery is something that we'll explore more here.
If anyone has questions, please put them in the chat. We are definitely pulling those and going through as they're coming in. While a few more questions are coming in, I did want to ask a little bit about safety. Yvonne, I heard you mention this at least 5 or 6 times throughout the presentation and wanted to know a little bit maybe behind the scenes within Zipline and Zipline culture. um, what does maybe the training like, or how do you ensure that, right, that safety passes through to the operations outside of just some of the procedural things? What does the cultural practice and training look like around safety?
Yeah. So for the operations team and for the engineering team, for every department of Zipline, when you first join the team, you are taken through rigorous training, and the training is not just on what you'll be directly responsible for, but what makes the system work, what makes what we do work. And safety being one of our topmost priorities, there is continuous training, refresher courses, and in terms of culture, we are each other's keeper. That's how it is. For a lot of our processes, we don't let one person handle it with regards to operations. So for a normal pre-flight, we don't let one person be the one going around inspecting the aircraft to make sure it's good. We always have two people so that one is always looking out for the other. We make sure there are no missed steps and all that. But it's the same concept also applies with regards to maintenance. So safety is kind of inground in our operations and in every aspect of Zipline, same as quality. Yeah. Does that answer the question, please?
It does. Thank you. I
All
know
right.
that many of us can relate to that, and for those of us in industry. So moving a little bit to some of the flight planning operations and maybe challenges with that. From a GPS standpoint, have there been concerns about potential jamming systems for the GPS that could potentially disrupt or cause mission failure? And are the drones at this stage leveraging any type of sensor technology that helps to pinpoint the final locations like seekers?
Yeah. So I mentioned redundant systems in one of the earlier slides, and the drone needs one GPS unit to be able to go to the health facility and come back. But we have two GPS units, so that and these units communicate with one another. The drone is able to pick readings from one and compare it to the other to make sure that they are in alignment. So far, we've done more than 50,000 deliveries, and we've not really had issues with our GPS. But as a backup to the GPS, we have other satellite communications to make sure that even when the GPS is not reliable, we have something to fall back on to be able to get the drone for the drone to be able to know its location and go and come back.
Thank you. Also had a question going back to um, again, how you have successful missions. Is there any type of um, additional collision detection when you talk about those redundancies? Um, so I'm not sure if you can also see the question in the chat that we're building upon. Directly, the question was, please share a bit more about how the collision detection and avoidance works in the drone. For example, if you're making the parachute landing, so maybe post, not actually during the flight, but now during the landing piece, period.
All right. So before we fly a drone, we have a platform that air traffic control towers in the regions that we serve have access to be able to monitor the aircraft that are flying. These air traffic controllers also have visibility over which manned aircraft is coming where. In terms of our drones, they communicate, one drone communicates with the other through field wave or line of sight communication, and they're able to deconflict or separate accordingly. So each drone knows the position of the other drone. So we don't have issue with regards to one drone colliding with another. And through the platform that we use to monitor our flights, we are able to prevent drones from also coming into contact with manned aircraft. With regards to a parachute landing system, it's usually the last point of call. That is when every other thing has failed, or yeah. So I mentioned we have like redundant systems like two motors, two jeep. Assuming both redundant systems fail, that is when the parachute is deployed and then the drone comes down. We mostly use our recovery system to bring the drone from the air after it has gone to deliver and returns to our center. So the parachute landing system is only used in emergencies and not for routine landing of the drone.
Thanks, Iran. I can see that you think about this a lot on a daily basis.
Yeah.
There's, I'm also getting some questions directly to me in the private chat. And so I wanted to maybe move back to some of the software and big data challenges. Um, and feel free, Sarah or Yvonne, to address this. There's a lot of data obviously built from all of the routes that are flown now surpassing 50,000, data around um, how to do optimal packing of the cargo because there's limited space within uh, each drone itself, and then a variety of products to be delivered. Are you yet looking at any advanced data analytics, machine learning, AI approaches to start addressing some of the opportunities and insights from the data that's being generated?
Yeah, so I can start. So there's a lot of really interesting data being generated, along with all those named, especially probably our biggest chunk of data is our flight logs. So each drone keeps very detailed metrics of its entire journey, and that's brought back for analysis. And it's especially helpful whenever something does go wrong to identify what those root causes were. So there's actually, I guess, quite a few uses of the data. Since I'm in the fulfillment space, I do find the fulfillment data particularly interesting. Uh, and I think the asker alluded to this, but we do have a lot of interesting information about usage patterns now of certain medical products and certain bloods. So um, we can actually leverage that data to better forecast not only what our distribution centers should stock in order to make sure that we have enough supplies for everyone, but it's interesting data for the government to know like which areas are being affected by what symptoms and when, and what our distribution lines are looking like for those specific medical products. So it's just increased visibility into the entire medical supply chain that we have. And so we do have a data analysis team that is specifically, and they're based in Ghana, who are specifically looking into fulfillment data and exploring those areas. I don't know if there's anything about flight analysis you want to bring up, Yvonne.
Oh, yeah. So, as you mentioned, anytime a drone goes and comes back, we upload logs, and we have a team that is dedicated to going over to make sure that to study like the behavior of the aircraft whilst it was in the air, and this helps to inform our continuous improvement efforts with regards to what we can do to make our systems better, to make the aircraft better and all that. So definitely, we do a lot of analysis with regards to the performance and of the aircraft and our packages as well.
Awesome, thank you. I want to circle back to some of your key metrics that you're tracking, and as questions continue to come in. Right now, past 50,000 deliveries, less than 0.1% of products damaged, 98% waste reduction. Very impressive and important metrics to track. Um, from looking at the metrics, it seems like you're very close to, I'll just say, quote unquote, 0% failures. But at the same time, I'm wondering, does it feel like that on a day-to-day basis? What does a failure, quote unquote, look like, right? Um, though you're hitting the targets at like a company level, how do you see opportunities for improvement? What do you track to get to those larger metrics?
Yeah. Um, so with regards to the products that we deliver a wide range of products, some of which are infusions, different types of infusions, blood units, medical products. typically medical products that come in paper packages and stuff are, in terms of endurance, they are more durable than infusions and then blood products. So I'll say that the less than 0.1 times that we've had damages, mostly it hasn't been with medical products, but with paper packaged medical products, but with products that are less durable. And we have ways that we wrap them, we package them to make sure that when the drone drops it, the parachute brings it down, it's able to withstand whatever condition. So assuming the drone drops it and it drops onto a stone or like in gravels or in any condition, we ensure that the package is in a condition to always be able to withstand the pressure or the shock that it comes with the fall. There are just a few instances where we might have a product loss as a result of one reason or the other. And these are some of the opportunities that we use to improve our systems, improve the way we deliver. So we track the off nominals in addition to the nominal flights, the nominal deliveries that we have. And even with our continuous improvements mindset and culture, even when it is working, we don't only fix issues that are broken, but we always strive to do more or better than we are doing. And so all the off nominals help us to make our systems better. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm looking at a couple of questions popping up in my chat. So kind of had a question related to, I want to build upon a question that's come in. So I'll read it as shared from the audience member, but then add a little bit. So in terms of customers, given the global challenges with quote unquote bad actors, how do you select your customers to ensure that you're working with the right customers? So maybe if you could talk about kind of that customer relationship piece as it crosses your line of work, but then also as you go into new spaces, working in Ghana versus Rwanda versus the US, some of the cultural differences and challenges and how you overcome them. You talked about some of them, for example, with preference for personal communication and text message. So first, kind of, how do you work with and select customers so that you sure they're right customers? And then how do you overcome any particular cultural challenges?
Okay. So our mission at Zipline is to provide vital medical supplies to every human on earth. It's quite ambitious goal, and we hope to be able to offer our service to everybody, irrespective of cultural backgrounds or anything. So we are a very adaptive company. I believe when we started in Rwanda, we were mostly doing a lot of blood deliveries. We currently do about 60% of Rwanda's blood. We supply 60% of the blood that is used in Rwanda. And coming to Ghana, we realized we do a lot of medical products, vaccine delivery in addition to the blood, and we've had to adapt to make sure that we are serving the different customers that we've had so far and all that. So I would say that we have a very close relationship with the health facilities, and when we start moving to home deliveries and stuff, we have very good relationship with the people that we are currently serving, and we hear their voice and we use that customer voice to dictate how things are done, how we adapt ourselves or place ourselves to be able to fulfill their requests, their orders without any excuses or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so when it comes to approaching new markets, our BD team does a lot of that initial research, and key parts of the research are kind of the impact that we would have there, as well as the government that we'd be working with and the departments. So when we're exploring a new opportunity, the BD team will go to that country and interact with those ministries of health to understand like what the healthcare landscape looks like. Once we've selected a country to kind of move forward with, that's when we start finding a country manager, and we always find them from within the country themselves. So in Ghana, Ghanaian Jonas helps bring up all of that because we just being from the US, as you said, we don't understand all the cultural norms. Like even the way land purchases worked in Ghana, very different. So we just need someone in country that then just helps take on Zipline's like be Zipline's general manager for understanding how we can best work with the not just the healthcare industry, but just with the entire process of setting up operations within the country, hiring the operations team, um, buying facilities and land, things like that. And that just lets us better integrate our presence within the country because then we just have a greater knowledge of how we can best serve the customers there.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I want to dialogue a little bit more about that. So going back to some of the comments we've had on like exploring the home care support. When you think about the US, what are the challenges that not just Zipline, but maybe you think we need to overcome to make something like that happen in the US, particularly as we look at other companies in the space, not specifically in healthcare, but other drone um, companies who are delivering right goods to consumers in the US. So maybe are there regulatory challenges? Also building upon a question I just saw pop up in the chat from Theodore Nicholson. Um, are there kind of regulatory challenges that we need to overcome, or new types of regulations that would make the work easier or enable right getting um, medicines and supplies to more people who need them?
Um, yeah. So uh, we've started operating in North Carolina, and um, we currently have a waiver from the FAA to be able to deliver the PPEs and other COVID-19 related wares to the Novant Health, and um, we believe that drone delivery in general is evolving, and currently Zipline is the only company that is doing large-scale deliveries or to long-range deliveries in the US. We are still currently navigating the regulatory requirements with FAA, and yeah, hopefully we will expand our service to cover different parts of the US as time goes on.
Cool. I know we've talked about kind of long range delivery, and could you maybe elaborate on what long range means, and what long range is versus short range? But then also, are there technology limitations on range, right? The battery technologies, where are you trying to go in terms of longer range, quote unquote?
All right. Thank you. So I think Zipline is so far with the drone companies that are active worldwide. We are the company that is doing wide-scale deliveries to further distances. Most of the existing drone companies use visual line of sight. They mostly use quadcopters, which take off and land, and so use a lot of energy in getting into the air and also in descending to the ground. And so because of that, they are not able to go far. The fact that we use the fixed wing system and the launcher and the recovery system to be able to propel the drone into the air help us conserve energy that might have been wasted trying to get the drone into the air by itself. By doing that, our drones are able to go faster and farther, and the wings also help to provide, generate the lift that the drone needs to be able to stay in the air and go far. When it comes to range, we currently operate within, we are able to serve facilities within an 80-kilometer radius. And with our continuous improvement mindsets, definitely that may not be the limit in the future. We are working on ways that we can improve our range. What we do mostly, especially in Ghana, is to make sure that we have centers set up in different places to make sure that we are not only serving a select group of people, but we are also serving all the people that we need to be able to serve.
No, thank you. I think you definitely addressed different parts of the question. At 80 kilometers, that's about 50 miles. So that's a pretty good distance. Um, Maybe changing gears a little bit while questions are still coming in. Wanted to switch a little bit away from the technology and kind of ask you, um, not to put you completely on the spot, but as you think about your career and experience at Zipline, you know, what kind of has attracted you initially to Zipline, but now, you know, what makes it a great place to work for each of you individually?
Okay. So my background, I'm a petrochemical engineer from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana. Before Zipline, I was teaching, and what attracted me to the company was the fact that as a new company, I felt there was a lot of opportunity for me to impact the people that you'll be serving, and also to be able to grow my knowledge, my skills. And the fact that it's a global company, I don't only have to work with a select group of people, let's say, come to work, be in a cubicle with just my laptop, and I interact with my laptop. I wanted a place where I could basically find a family. We have a good drive to always improve, do better, and be able to offer excellent customer service to the people that we serve. That motivated me a lot. And since joining the team, I've had opportunity to go to health facilities, meet different people, know the real need that they have, and in effect, it tells me the fact that what I do here is not in vain. There are people who need my service, my output, whatever I put in the work has an impact over a patient who needs the products that we send out to them. So that's very good motivation. And I started out as a flight operator, but in a year, I've had the opportunity to lead an operations team in a new center to bring the learnings that I've had previously to the new team. And there is a lot of motivation to do your best. You interact with different people, you learn a lot, and you are always constantly growing because you can't be stagnant, or you can't say that I want to learn or I want to improve, because the environment, the culture alone pushes you to be a better version of yourself personally and in your career. So yeah, that's how the experience has been so far for me.
I definitely agree with everything Yvonne said. And I think it's really impressive to look back and realize just how small the Zipline team still is for all that we've accomplished. I mean, it was really small when I joined, like maybe like 30 engineers total across software and hardware. And even now, it's not so much bigger than that. So, and it's just the global part of the mission is the most like driving thing. And just I speak with operators every day pretty much to figure out what's going on the ground, what we need to be working on. And I know that every single piece of code I write is making things better for them and making things better for the customer down the line. So the impact of the work is just immediate. And we're a small team that really drives on individual ownership and accountability. So the projects that you take on, you're responsible for them and you have the power to make any decision you need to get that product to the finish line. And because everybody's just oriented on the same goal, like it just aligns really well, even when everybody's kind of working and pushing themselves individually. And just it's been really exciting to see the company grow. So I've been here almost 2 years now. um, and I've been out to Rwanda, I've been out to Ghana, got to hang out with Yvonne, which is, also an exciting part of being on the global team.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just seeing like Yvonne and I met in an early training and just seeing how we've both grown from that time and how the company's grown has been
Yeah.
amazing.
No, thank you. That's really shows a bit of a behind the door uh, understanding of what it's like on a day-to-day basis to breathe the zipline culture. In NSBE, there is a very strong sense of culture, and we're equally mission driven and also community focused. And so I maybe wanted to close with one final question that's come through, which is also from the sentiment of culture, but also outreach. Can you talk a little bit about what Zipline is doing to kind of train and develop future generations, whether um, for each of your professions as software engineers or operations leads, or even air traffic controllers? What's the work doing to kind of build the pipeline of talent that is so highly sought after?
All right. So, as part of our operations, we have a community team who interface with the communities that we serve, in addition to the internal community, to make sure that uh, our, what we are doing, the impact is not just within the health facilities that we serve and not just within Zipline, but we are having an impact on the communities that we serve. We do a lot of community engagement, a lot of outreaches. We go to schools, uh, second cycle schools, we go to universities, and we also receive them into our distribution centers. We give them tours, we take them through what we do, and we've had very good feedback from them. And the fact that, like, when they visit a distribution center, they see young engineers and working, operating the drones and working to make the systems better and all that. It's a lot of motivation for them to be able to get into the engineering space, to just study hard and be someone sometime. And so, yes, that is how we are able to engage with the communities and the people that are within the space that we operate.
Awesome. Did you want to share anything additional, Sarah?
Yeah, and definitely in the US, we're looking for all sorts of opportunities like this to speak, to workshop, to teach, to have collaborative sessions. We have an intern program as well to try to get folks from all these spaces involved. So please, if you have opportunities like this, give a shout out to our team, to Ariel, who's also on the call. We're always looking for more ways to expand our reach.
Awesome. Well, I think that is a great point to stop and move to close the session. I am still so excited about the information that you have shared. And I know that everyone out there, watching the presentation can't see all the questions that are popping up in my private chat. It just shows the overwhelming interest in the topic and the content that you're sharing that we can't even get to all the questions. So apologies if we didn't get to your question. I'll definitely collect them and we'll try to get a response to those questions post this meeting. But to make sure we can get in touch with you, we do need your contact information and your feedback on the session. So we've dropped a link into the chat. It's a very quick survey, just a few questions. You can let us know if you like what you heard, and if you'd like to hear more, we can definitely do that in partnership with Zipline. Also, you can check out their career opportunities and express interest in career opportunities at Zipline through the feedback survey as well. There's so many opportunities, I think, to even connect beyond careers. As you know, we have a very strong NSBE Ghana contingency of membership and also very strong chapters in the Bay Area. So some opportunities for local engagement as well as national platforms like this. So I thank you, Aria. I know you're behind the scenes listening in on the call, but also thank you, Sarah and Yvonne, for your time.
The pleasure is ours.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. This was so lovely.
Take care, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the conference program.